You break up, you cry, you eat ice cream, and then a few months later, your ex sends you a message. Hey, can we be friends? And you just freeze. Do you say yes? Do you say no? Is it even possible? Today, we are going to figure that out together. Welcome to Let's Talk Real English, the podcast where we talk about real life, real situations, and of course, real English. I'm Laura.
And I'm Eric. And if you are learning English at a B1 or a B2 level, you are in exactly the right place. We speak naturally, we keep things clear, and we talk about stuff that actually matters in everyday life.
Right, and today's topic, I think it's one that basically everyone can relate to. We're asking the big question, should you stay friends with an ex?
Yeah, this is one of those questions where everyone has a strong opinion. And Laura and I, we actually don't agree on this one, like at all.
We really don't, so this is going to be a real debate today. Not just, two people nodding at each other. We're going to go back and forth, share some personal stories, and hopefully by the end, you'll have a clearer idea of where you stand on this.
And also pick up some great English vocabulary and expressions along the way. So let's get into it.
Okay, so Eric, I know you are on the yes, you can be friends with an ex side, so make your case. Go ahead.
All right. So, look, I think the first thing we have to acknowledge is that just because a romantic relationship ends, it doesn't mean everything disappears. Like, you shared experiences with this person, you built something together, you know them deeply, and I think it's actually kind of mature to be able to hold on to that connection, just in a different form.
Okay, I hear you, but I think that's the ideal version. In reality, it's messier than that.
Sure, it can be messy. I'm not saying it's easy, but I think the key word is can. It can work. I actually have a friend, let's call her Sarah. She and her ex dated for 2 years, broke up, and now 4 years later, they are genuinely good friends. They hang out in groups, they support each other, it works.
Okay, I'll give you that. That does sound nice. But here's my thing, Eric, and I feel pretty strongly about this. I think those cases are the exception, not the rule. Like for most people, staying friends with an ex just complicates everything.
Complicates how though?
Well, okay, think about this. You break up, right? And there are feelings involved, big feelings. If you stay in contact, those feelings don't just go away, they linger. You might think you're totally fine, and then you see them with someone new, and suddenly you're like, wait, am I fine? And that can really slow down your healing process.
Yeah, that's a fair point actually. The healing process is real. And I think timing matters a lot here. Like I'm not saying you should be best friends with your ex the week after you break up. That would be a disaster. But given time, given enough space first, I think friendship is possible.
Okay, so you're saying you need distance first, like a proper break from the person before you attempt any kind of friendship.
Exactly. Yeah. I think the no contact period is actually really important. You need time to reset, I guess, to figure out who you are outside of that relationship. And then, once you've done that work, once the dust has settled, you can start to think about whether a friendship makes sense.
Okay, and by the way, listeners, the dust has settled is a really useful English expression. It means things have calmed down after a difficult or chaotic situation. Like the dust from an explosion slowly falls and settles, and life goes back to normal. So you'd say, let's wait until the dust has settled before we make any decisions. Super useful.
Yeah, love that one. Okay, so back to the topic. Laura, let me ask you this. Have you ever personally tried to stay friends with an ex?
Oh, yes, I have, and honestly, it was a bit of a disaster. So I dated this guy for about a year and a half, and when we broke up, it was mutual. Like we both kind of agreed it wasn't working. And we said all the right things, let's stay friends, I still care about you, all of that. And at first, it was okay, actually. We'd text sometimes, nothing weird.
Right, yeah, that sounds pretty normal.
But then he started dating someone else. And I thought I was totally over it. I really did. But when I saw photos of them together on social media, I felt something like this little twist in my stomach, and I realized, oh no, I'm not as over this as I thought I was. And the friendship we had was actually just keeping me stuck.
Keeping you stuck. Yeah, that's a really honest way to put it.
Yeah, so I actually had to step back and cut contact for a while. And that was what I actually needed. And I think a lot of people do that. They say, "Let's be friends" because it feels kinder or because they're afraid of the full goodbye. But sometimes the full goodbye is actually what both people need.
I want to highlight a phrase you used there: cut contact. That means to stop communicating with someone completely. You cut the connection, like cutting a rope. And the opposite is stay in touch, keeping communication going. So, cut contact versus stay in touch. Two really useful phrases.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so Eric, what about you? Have you stayed friends with an ex?
I have, yeah. And I think my experience is a bit different from yours. So, I was with someone for about 2 years in college. And when we ended things, it was honestly not dramatic. We just sort of grew apart, like we wanted different things. There was no big fight, no betrayal. We just drifted. And because the breakup was low drama, low conflict, it was actually pretty natural to stay friends. We gave each other space for a few months and then gradually fell back into a friendship. Now, I'd say she's one of my genuine friends. I'd call her if I needed advice. She came to my birthday party last year. It really works.
Okay, see, I actually think that's the key difference. How you broke up, like the circumstances of the breakup, matter so much. If it ended peacefully with mutual respect, then yeah, maybe friendship is possible. But if someone cheated or lied or really hurt the other person, I think that changes everything.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I completely agree with that. If there was a betrayal of trust involved, that's a whole other situation. Like, I'm not saying everyone should be friends with every ex. That would be, yeah, no. I'm saying it's possible in the right condition.
Right, and I want to add to that, sometimes the bravest choice is to walk away cleanly. Knowing your own limits, knowing what's healthy for you, and making that decision without guilt, that takes real strength too.
Yeah, I can't argue with that actually. Both paths can be mature. It really does depend on the individual, the situation, the people involved. But let's also ask, what are your motivations? Why do you want to stay friends? Is it because you genuinely value this person as a human being and want them in your life? Or is it because you're hoping to get back together? Or because you're scared of completely losing them? Because those are very different motivations and they lead to very different outcomes.
Yes, that's exactly it. And I think a lot of people, they aren't honest with themselves about this. Like they tell themselves, I just want to be friends. But deep down, they're holding on to something else. And that's when it gets painful.
And I think there's even a term for that, right? Holding on, which literally means not letting go of something. Like if you're holding onto a rope, your hands are still gripping it. And emotionally, holding on means you haven't fully accepted that the relationship is over. You're still mentally and emotionally attached.
Okay, so I think we've actually been slowly moving towards some conclusions here. Let me try to summarize where I stand. I think, in theory, yes, friendship with an ex is possible, but in practice, it requires a lot of self awareness, the right timing, the right circumstances, and honestly, a lot of emotional work. And not everyone is in a place to do that work. And that's okay.
Yeah, and I think my position is I believe it's possible and often worth attempting, but only if both people are truly over the romantic feelings or at least have processed them enough. And only if both people genuinely want the friendship for the right reasons, not as a backup plan, not as a way to stay close just in case, but because they actually value each other as people.
A backup plan. Yeah, that's another thing we should name. Sometimes people keep an ex around because they're afraid of being alone. Like, what if I don't find anyone better? And so the ex becomes a kind of emotional safety net. And that's not healthy for either person.
A safety net, yes, like the net under a circus trapeze artist. It catches you if you fall. But if you're using your ex as an emotional safety net, you're probably not giving yourself the chance to fully move on and build something new.
Right. And on that note, moving on. Moving on means starting to accept the end of the relationship and focusing on your own life and future rather than the past. It's one of those phrasal verbs that just captures something so human, moving forward instead of staying still.
I love that. Okay, so I want to ask you one final question, Lara. If someone is listening right now and they're in this exact situation, their ex just reached out and said, "Can we be friends?" What would you tell them?
I would tell them, take your time. Don't feel pressured to answer right away. Ask yourself honestly, am I actually healed enough to have a real friendship with this person? Or am I saying yes because it feels easier than saying goodbye for real? Because sometimes not yet or even no is the kinder answer for both of you.
That's really well said. And I'd add, if you do decide to try the friendship, give it the same honesty you'd give any friendship. Set some boundaries early on. Be clear about what you're comfortable with. And if it starts to feel painful or confusing, that's information. Listen to it.
Set boundaries. That's such an important phrase. A boundary is basically a line you draw about what you will and won't accept. In relationships, romantic or not, healthy boundaries are everything. And you know what? I think we can both agree on that.
100%. Healthy boundaries, always a good idea.
Okay, so before we wrap up, let's do a quick vocabulary recap because that's kind of our thing here on Let's Talk Real English. We talked about a lot of great expressions today. We had the dust has settled, cut contact, stay in touch, grew apart, drifted, holding on, letting go, a safety net, a backup plan, moving on, and set boundaries.
That's a solid list, and these are all expressions that native speakers use all the time in conversations, in texts, in articles about relationships. So if you can use even 3 or 4 of these naturally in a conversation, your English is going to sound so much more fluent and confident.
And that is exactly what this show is all about. Real language for real life. Not textbook English, not formal English, the kind of English that actual people use every single day.
All right, so we want to hear from you. What do you think? Should you stay friends with an ex, or is it better to make a clean break? And by the way, to make a clean break means to end something completely and clearly, with no loose ends, no going back. Clean, done, a fresh start.
Leave us a comment wherever you're listening to this, whether that's on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever. We actually read every single comment. And if this episode helped you, if you learned something, if it made you think, please leave us a review. It really does make a difference, and it helps other English learners find the show.
And if you want to keep practicing your English with us, make sure you subscribe or follow the show so you never miss an episode. We come out with new topics every week, topics that are real, relevant, and actually interesting to talk about.
All right, I'm Lara.
And I'm Eric. Thanks so much for listening to Let's Talk Real English. Take care of yourselves, and hey, maybe think twice before you text your ex.
Just think twice. See you next time.